Hello and welcome to computer class. Today we're talking about operating systems, specifically an overview of Windows 10, the most widely used operating system for personal computers. And so I want to kind of start out by defining what is Windows 10. Um, Really, I would say that it is the core of your of the software on your computer. So there's other things underneath the hood below Windows 10. I get that, but just for the sake of illustration here, every other program that you see that gets installed, Chrome, Microsoft Office, on and on, all the programs that you install on your computer, those are installed into Windows 10. And so it's kind of the platform or the foundation that supports every operation on your computer. It defines the interface to the system. So the interface is usually called a GUI or a graphical user interface. And Windows 10 is a GUI. It supports everything that you see. As operating systems, Windows 10, Linux, and Mac OS 10 all basically do the same things, and that's something you should know. Basically, all operating systems do the same things, but it's the interface, the design, and the layout that controls these operating systems that makes them feel completely different from each other. You're going to have settings in every single operating system. You're going to have um, you're going to have a taskbar in every single operating system, right? There's always the same basic components. So if you have an overview of an operating system in a general sense, if you can at least think, where do I need to find these components? You probably can find anything within any operating system. Okay, back to our definition of what is an operating system. An operating system is a program that acts as an interface between the user and the computer hardware. It's pretty important to understand that it's a program, and all other programs are installed into this program, if that makes sense. So it's kind of like Inception. It's a dream within a dream, if you catch what I'm saying. So I'm going to link a video, a couple videos actually, down in the description. They all have to do with explaining operating systems. This is Linus Tech. He explains operating systems, as well as this guy explains the difference between two different operating systems. And then we're going to talk about Windows 10. So go watch those videos because they'll give you a greatest understanding, and then come right back here and we will continue with this tutorial. All right, now that you're back, um, I want to give you a quick tour of the interface here. So right off the bat, this is the desktop environment. And on the desktop environment, you can right click and personalize, do new folders, do new shortcuts, probably even create a program from here. You can open your NVIDIA control panel, all sorts of different things. There's kind of a flyout menu if you left click. Okay, recycle bins in the top corner there. If you go down to the bottom, you have something called the taskbar, and in the taskbar is embedded Cortana, which is a search, kind of a AI searchable help that Microsoft has included. And then as you go across the taskbar, you have your icons associated with the programs that you have installed. I have quite a few because I have a lot of programs for everything that I do. But these are known as icons, and you can have them on the desktop as well. There's nothing wrong with that. But yeah, they're known as icons. And then if you go all the way into the corner where my face is covering, and I'm actually going to move my face over so you can see that. There we go. You have something called basically the quick access area here. And then you have the action center. When you click this little blurb, if you will, or a little like message above someone's, like someone speaking out. It's a little message there. That's the action center. So that's a quick tour of the interface of the of the program, because that's what an operating system is. Hang on, I got to scroll down and see the different things that I missed. Oh, also this little icon right here is known as Start. If you click that, it has a list of all your programs. There's settings again right there, and you can pin programs to this. Okay, Also, volume is in this corner right here, and whether or not you're connected to the internet is down in this corner right here. And as I say that, I probably covered over start. Here, I'll move myself to the center. Start, what I clicked on earlier, is this little start button here. Okay? So, what we're going to do is now, and let me make sure I have this correctly set up, we're going to access the settings. So how we do that is we click the notification center and we click on set all settings. You could also get to this from start and click on the settings button, but this is where you find your settings. Now let me pull this over here because my settings popped over onto my other screen. And in settings, you have tons of stuff. What's nice is you can search for a feature if you can't find it. But you can also find them by category here. So we have system, and that allows you to discover your screen settings, your display settings, your sound settings, your notifications, what you have those set to. Focus assist isn't really an incredibly amazing, decent, helpful setting, but if you need that, there it is. Power and sleep, whether or not your PC will turn off automatically. Some stuff about storage, just letting you know what's going on and how to manage your apps and features and other things in storage, how much you have left, which mode you're in, whether tablet mode or desktop mode. Some stuff for multitasking, virtual desktops and such. Projecting the PC, we don't have anything connected there. Sharing your experiences, you can create shared folders, you can change where you save places and such, and on it goes. Remote desktop is in here, so that's kind of a neat feature. All right, so that's a category, if you will. All these are categories that you can do different things. Now these settings would seem nice at first glance, but I usually don't go to these settings. More in the IT world, we play with, I don't know, I consider it maybe the deep settings, if you will. And what we do is we go into Cortana here and we type control panel and bring that up. And here are all the same settings, but there's a lot more to dig into to see if that makes sense. So starting off the bat, let's go into system and security. And here you can kind of see all the different things that are associated with your computer. For instance, Windows Defender Firewall. If you click that, and again, how I'm going back is just hitting this arrow here. You can see whether or not your firewall is turned on and whether or not this is the second line of defense really on your computer, because you have virus protection software, then you have the computer's firewall. So anyway, that's a great thing there. System, if you click that, it tells you what your operating system, what version of it that you are running, which is Windows 10 Pro for me. It tells you what processor you have, how many gigs of RAM, what your desktop name is, and you can change those settings, by the way, and your product ID, which I'm going to have to blur that out now that you saw it. All right, so that's what system is. Power options, again, similar to what we were just talking about in the regular settings, you can change that to energy power saver so that it turns off every 5 minutes or so. Kind of in the deep center, you can encrypt your drive, which I wouldn't recommend doing unless you have sensitive files that are crazy sensitive. You can do administrative tools, and on it goes. Okay, so there's an example of one of these pieces in the deep settings. And again, you could change it by category or large icons, small icons. All right, so again, this is just a tour of the interface to find stuff out. We'll kind of dig deep into each one of these as time goes on. This is just an overall real quick overview. So we have regular settings, we have deep settings. Something else to be talked about with regards to settings is that if you just right click on the start menu, you get all these, what I would say, like secondary settings. Again, a lot of IT or help desk people would utilize these. So for instance, if you were to click on Device Manager right there, okay, and bring this up, this is where one might find the drivers associated with a lot of different peripherals that the computer has. So for instance, here is your network adapters. If you were to just click the drop down, right click on one of these, you could update the driver. Let's just say like your network card wasn't working, you could plug it into a router and right click and update it. So there's lots of different. Now the best way to really get all your drivers up to date is just to download Windows updates, but that is a great way using Device Manager to sometimes fix things is to actually reinstall drivers. And this is a list of all the drivers. So again, a list of settings there. Speaking of updates, if you just into Cortana type check for updates and press enter, Windows then, and you just press this, Windows will update. You could also check the build info of the current one you have. You can check whether or not your Windows security is up to date, on and on and on. There are lots of different settings in here, but needless to say, updating your PC is extremely important because it keeps you secure, not only from threats of viruses, but also getting the latest build helps you. There might be like some patch needed in the code of the operating system, and you would get that by going to these settings. Okay. That being said, let's talk about printers, scanners, Wi-Fi, those types of things. So if you just go to printers and scanners, this is if you just literally just type it in, but you could also go to settings. Let's do that actually, settings, and then settings. There you go, and you could click on devices and then printers and scanners. That would get you to the same thing. You can see all the printers you have installed, and if you need to install one, this is where you do it. You just press add a printer or scanner. So, super helpful to know as well. As far as connecting a Bluetooth device, if you click on the Action Center, you can click on Bluetooth right here, turn that on, and then you can connect your Bluetooth devices. Now, Bluetooth, if you type Bluetooth settings into the computer, it shows a list of the devices that are compatible, and you can add one here. And if it's already being connected before, then just simply turning on Bluetooth right here will allow those devices usually to pair or connect. So that's helpful to know as well. With regard to Wi-Fi, if you click on the little network area here, yours might be the famous Wi-Fi dome. You can actually click your network. You can actually turn on Wi-Fi, mobile, turn the PC into a mobile hotspot, turn on airplane mode so it's not connected at all to the PC, which by the way I recommend doing when backing up your computer. We'll talk about that in another lesson. But Wi-Fi is where you find it right there. All right, and then of course personalizing your computer. If you were to, for instance, like change your background to the background that I have right here, how did I in fact do that? I just right-clicked and I hit personalize here, and then I browsed, found my background, and clicked one, and then changed it to that, if that makes sense. So you can change it to a picture, a solid, a slideshow, kind of cool. You can choose to fit, stretch, tile, span. There's different options for that, but a lot of people like that. That's how you would change your background. Changing the also in here, if you hit personalize, should be an option to change the colors of Windows 10 as well as the lock screen of Windows 10. I like it on Windows Spotlight because it gives me those really cool, sweet looking pictures. But you can pick themes. You can create your own theme, custom theme here. You can change the fonts, which is like nutso, right? And you can alter which taskbars are changed on. So if you don't want something to show, maybe you don't want Cortana this big, you could like turn it off or something, and it will make it differently. Okay, so that's all of those settings. Let's go to File Explorer. Click on the folder, and this is your File Explorer. Well, I mean, obviously I have a lot of files, so there's so much here. uh, in File Explorer, you have access to your desktop. This is where files will sit. We're going to do a lesson about files, but this is where your files sit. Your downloads folder is, your documents, your pictures, your videos, and anything below these pinned ones, which are your typical defaults. There are lots of random folders that you access on a regular basis. They just kind of sit there and chill at the bottom. See, I have access to my drives here. If I click on, there's my local disk. If I click on, yeah, there's my local disk. If I click on this PC, there it is, I can see my 2 drives and actually like drill down into the different drives. Double click, there's my one drive, which is where I have it installed and things, or downloaded. All right, so that's File Explorer, and in File Explorer as well, you can search for anything if you're in a folder. So if I'm in documents, I could search documents as a for instance, and find different things. And there's lots of options overhead. Again, for another lesson, we will discuss that later. Okay? How about uninstalling a program? That's something that you do in an operating system. This is the basic overview. You'd basically just type uninstall, and it would come up with add or remove programs. And you can search for any program in the list. So if I wanted to uninstall Chrome, oops, there we go. I could just click it and click uninstall. And when it gets done uninstalling, it'll be off the device. That's one way to do it. I could also type Chrome, right click on Chrome, and hit uninstall. And when I do that, it will pop up with this deep settings list, because sometimes like a program will get jammed for whatever reason and it won't uninstall in the uninstall spot that I just showed you. So you actually have to click it and force uninstall here. So yeah, it's a thing, but super helpful to know. Also, shortcuts. How to create shortcuts on your desktop. There's a couple ways to do this. So if you wanted to go to a web address, and let me just bring over a browser window here. Let's say I wanted to shortcut Evernote on my desktop. So Evernote, I'm going to Google that, grab a link, right click, and I will press new shortcut. And I could just drop Control V. By the way, how I copied this link, let me go back for just a second. Oops. I'm clicking all sorts of things. How I did that for just a second was I clicked up in the URL bar and I pressed Control C, that copies, and then I right clicked and pressed new shortcut, and I did Control V in that paste. Press next, and you can name your shortcut. So I'd call it Evernote, and then press OK or enter on your keyboard. And then anytime I double click this, you can't see it because it's popping up on my other screen, but it popped up Evernote. Okay, so that's kind of cool as a feature. That's how you create a shortcut. You can also create a shortcut to a program. Like let's say I wanted Chrome on my desktop. I could click the folder and click on my local C drive and click on, I believe it's Program Files 86. Click on Google, click on Chrome, Application, and you drill down in a program basically all the way down, and you find the executable of the file. This right here, all of these files I just drilled down into, that's the files of your operating system. So, but you could right click on this and hit send to desktop. create shortcut. See that? And when I do that, there it is. Chrome shortcut. I could rename it Chrome if I want to. There we go. But now I always have, it's bringing it up on my other screen again, but I always have, it brings up Google Chrome. So again, the way that you could do that is C drive is all of your program files. If I go down to my program files, these are all the programs on my computer. Any program I want to. Adobe, I could drill down into it, Creative Cloud, ACD. There's the executable for Creative Cloud. Right click, send to desktop, right? And there you create a shortcut just like that. Okay, I'm gonna drop that in the rubbish bin. Screen sizing options. So I'm gonna open a random program. Let's see what's the best. A browser is the greatest. Why not? Right? Let's say I had a browser. You see what's happening right now? There's screen sizing options. So when you take something, I'm holding down on my left mouse button right now. I'm actually clicking and dragging it around. When I slam it against the top, it expands and becomes full size. When I slam it against the side, it kind of jumps to half a screen and allows me to select another one of my programs that I have open, which another browsing window works. And here's what's cool. I can even stick this in the corner if I want to. I could just touch it to the corner. Oops, dropped it. And there we go. We could have, multiple browser windows. I could just continue to do this. If I go down in the corner there, it would just drop it. Okay. And you can have as many, you can also resize these up and down, side to side, whatever you're feeling. It works. Now this, how it works kind of in Windows is the minus makes things small. The boxes make things kind of like windowed. And then the singular box makes things full screen again. And then the X closes things. So there we go. That's how all of those features go. And then lastly, the recycle bin, how does that work? Well, the majority of the time, like let's say I wanted to throw out my Xfinity account transfer document because I don't really need it anymore, I could just drag it into the recycle bin. Also, I could right click, press delete. There's a lot of features in right click. Or I could click it and press delete on my keyboard. That also works. And if it's in the recycle bin, okay, we can see it's right here. I could right click on it and hit restore, like I've accidentally deleted it, which I did, and it would be back on my desktop. If I want to clean out my recycle bin because it's too full, I hit empty recycle bin, delete all 52 things that were in there, and it's empty. You'll notice the recycle bin even shows it's empty, so that's pretty cool. All right, so that was a quick overview of things. I wouldn't say I covered everything. I'm going to do a part 2 to this video series, but I did cover most of the high-level things you might do in an operating system, specifically the Windows 10 operating system. And lots of operating systems have these abilities. You just kind of have to search for those specific categories of settings that I just walked you through. And so hopefully this was helpful, and I will see you in the next video.